Well, Mercedes have a lot of catching up to do, and that's a major understatement. The reality is that the Brackley team has completely dropped the ball in 2023, and unlike last season, there appears to be nothing they can do other than a complete concept change to catch up to the leading Red Bulls. Nonetheless, Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff has revealed the major steps the team is taking to reclaim the lead and has issued a warning to his rival Christian Horner. So what is the recovery timeline for Mercedes, and will their strategy be to copy Red Bull? And what does technical director Mike Elliott have to say about their development path moving forward? Well, let's jump right in. Toto Wolff has stated that significant progress is being made in the wind tunnel as Mercedes pursues a concept shift that it hopes will unlock greater performance potential. However, given that Red Bull appears to have amassed significant knowledge in how to make the most of the current generation of ground effect cars, Wolff admits that matching that know-how will take time. But he also claims that as the Red Bull concept matures, the rate of improvement will inevitably slow as diminishing returns kick in, allowing Mercedes to make relative gains. When asked by the media how long it would take Mercedes to catch up in terms of understanding the car, Wolff replied, "I think the lag is probably between 6 and 12 months because that's the time that it took for us to figure out what was actually happening with the car. And that means we just need to have to double the development speed, a strong development slope. Their gains are going to be incrementally smaller if the concept is mature. I think error-wise, wind tunnel time can help a bit, but not hugely. It's just that we've got to get our act together, and if we fundamentally understand where we need to put the car, then the steps are going to be large, but we need to be perfect." Now, the reference to 6 to 12 months should not be interpreted as a target time for Mercedes to match Red Bull on track, though Mercedes is determined to do so as soon as possible. While Mercedes has mentioned its downforce deficit as a key factor, what really matters is not just being able to produce the kind of downforce that Red Bull can, but also being able to fine-tune the aero map and characteristics to optimize that performance. Understanding why Mercedes went down the wrong path in the first place is part of the recovery process. After all, the team has experimented with designs based on the Red Bull concept in both CFD and the wind tunnel, but has found no gains or indication of increased performance potential with development. The question is, why? It's impossible to answer that question definitively from the outside. It's difficult even from the inside. But by changing its car concept, the team will have to understand how to make the car work. Now, the sidepod concept has received a lot of attention, with Mercedes admitting even before the first race of the season that it had a modified design planned for the sixth race of the season at Imola in May. Technical director Mike Elliott confirmed that in order to fit this sidepod, which he described as distinct from the Red Bull design and also distinct from the current Mercedes design, packaging changes have been made beneath the bodywork. But the concept shift is more than just a sidepod. The powerful underfloor is the focal point of the current F1 car concept, and it's the starting point for any changes. What happens next is that it's optimized as part of a massively complex and interacting network of airflows, both on and off the bodywork. In comparison to Red Bull, Mercedes clearly has a knowledge deficit in this area. Obviously, Bahrain was a real reality check, and to find ourselves in the position we find ourselves in, not being competitive, was a real disappointment, Elliott said. A disappointment for the whole team. But you have to get yourself through that, and you have to turn that into what we're going to do about it. How are we going to bring the sort of energy and what we're capable of doing? So the engineers are busy looking at aerodynamics. They're looking at the shape of the car, things like the sidepod geometry, the floor geometry. Have we missed a trick? But we're also looking in the simulation world of, are we targeting the right things? Are we pushing the aerodynamics in the right direction? We're looking at the mechanical setup of the car. Are there things there that we're missing? What else can we bring to the car that's going to add performance? And we're trying to do that as fast as we possibly can because we want to get back to the front. Mercedes will learn as it goes, and its pre-2022 design trend of running low-rate cars may have contributed to its current disadvantage. Now, under the previous rules regime, Red Bull ran a high-rate car and will have gained a significant understanding of the fine aero detail of the floor edges, how to control the underfloor performance at varying ride heights, and the interaction of aero and mechanical characteristics. This potentially created an opportunity to build a knowledge base that Mercedes lacked and fed into current regulation cars. Whether or not that's the case, the shift in concept will force Mercedes into uncharted territory. Wolff claims of large steps indicate that the process is proceeding smoothly, but the more advanced the car becomes, the more precise the control required to make it work. There may be gremlins ahead that cause gains to be temporarily reduced, while their knowledge of the aero phenomena involved grows. We haven't spent enough time on looking where they find performance because it was important to re-find our own identity, which we did, Wolff said when asked if Mercedes understands why Red Bull and Aston Martin's car concepts are so successful. And now it's only the second step in saying how can we refine our car in order to catch up, and that of course means looking closely at these two cars and what they do, how they work, and what is it that we may be missing. Although Mercedes only committed to this path after the Bahrain Grand Prix, work on this alternative concept already pre-existed at that moment. That explains its apparent strong start developmentally, with the majority of the grid appearing to be converging on the Red Bull downwash concept that seems to best fit the current regulations. Mercedes is likely to shift in that direction as well, even if it's not a direct copy. Although Mercedes previously believed that the best way to be the fastest in F1 was to develop its own design concepts, Wolff believes that the critical decision now is to simply go down the path that produces the best results. And if that means committing to the Red Bull design, he has stated unequivocally that the team will do so, even joking that he would have no qualms about putting one of his rivals' stickers on the car as a credit. I think at this stage, we have no dogmatism about how the car should look like, explained Wolff. It just needs to be the quickest possible race car. And if that car looks like a Red Bull or like SpaceX, I don't care. It just needs to be quick. And if it's a Red Bull, we'll put a little bull somewhere with a sticker, and I will have no shame if it's quick. Wolff believes that the lessons learned by Aston Martin, which abandoned its original concept at the start of 2022 to pursue the Red Bull route, demonstrate the potential for improvement after committing to a change of direction. Definitely what Aston Martin has done proves that within 6 or 7 months you can gain so much lap time that it makes you play very much at the front, so that's good to see. It's good to see for all of us that you should never write off a season if these kind of steps can be done. However, there is no doubt that Mercedes will need time to make up for lost ground. This is reflected not only in the performance deficit, which is over 1 second per lap on Sunday based on the first 2 weekends, but also in the knowledge deficit. But while it's easy to dismiss all of Mercedes' positive sentiment as PR or an attempt to keep sponsors happy, if there's one team that can bridge the gap between them and Red Bull, it's Mercedes. So what are your thoughts? Is Toto Wolff's prediction of 6 to 12 months to get to the front accurate? And do you believe Mercedes will copy or closely resemble Red Bull's outwash design with their new concept? Give us your opinions in the comment section down below.